Hi everyone, I am Emily Schramm, a personal trainer, nutritional therapy practitioner, and creator of this dope-ass new gym, which I thought we should utilize over the holidays. I think one of my biggest frustrations when people are wanting to try strength training or nervous to try strength training is the accessibility, not knowing how to lift weights safely, but also not knowing how much of a benefit it is for your body. And so this whole program is to make sure that you understand how to safely and efficiently get as strong as possible, because it's not just to feel strong and feel capable. When I strength train in the gym, I'm able to translate that into every avenue of my life. It makes me more confident, it makes me more capable, it makes me walk taller, but it also is about how to get results. And I think over and over, after we open this gym, the story we're trying to tell, because it's so true, is that if you want to change your body composition, if you want to change the way you look, if you want to start to see quote, toned arms, you have to lift weights. And it's so true when you do it with a program or you do it with just some level of consciousness of saying, okay, I am starting a strength training program. This is how I should do it. When you do it in a way that's systemized, you get incredible results. And so, for example, just a quick backstory on me, if you're brand new to me, I'm so glad you're here. Some of you have been following me for a long time. But when I first started on my weight loss or body composition changing journey, whatever you want to call it, it was about 8 years ago. And I had always been an athlete, and I always thought that I was going to the gym and doing what I thought I should, but I did not like the way I looked. And so I would always run more, sprint more, eat less, and I always came to the same conclusion. I didn't like my body. And so what I really want to focus on with you guys is explaining that your muscle, even though pound for pound, it has more density than fat, you actually will change the way you look by increasing muscle mass. So the way I look now and the way I feel and the strength that I have is because I put on muscle. That changed the scale. So no longer did I want my goal weight to be 135, it was 150, but the look and the way that it looked was totally different. And so for people that are scared of strength training, I just want you to know strength training will completely and radically change your body, but also the way you walk in this world. That was my long intro. I'm just so happy you're here. Today we're gonna focus on squats. And so this is like the most basic. We hear about squats all the time, right? If you wanna get a bigger booty, squat. If you wanna, I don't know, what else do we hear about squat? Everything. But my biggest takeaway for you guys is to make sure we do the squat right. I actually don't think you grow your butt by squatting. We'll get to that. But what I want to make sure is that you all, for all of these days, you have some mobility, you have some foam rolling techniques to help prevent injury, and then you just have a really good idea of how to do it correctly and how to incorporate it into your day-to-day program or your every other day program. And so squats specifically, it cannot work your butt until you engage it. And so one of the biggest reasons why we can't engage it is because all of us are so quad dominant. Hip flexors from sitting, quads from doing a ton of lunges without our glutes activating. Maybe we were stressed out and your adrenals actually turn off your glutes. If you do not know that, hashtag adrenals with M and you can learn all about it. But we're gonna start by foam rolling quads before you do any sort of squat, whether it's impact, dumbbells, or barbell. Start here. And so laying on your side, go to elbow to help take off pressure. If I'm right in my hip flexor, on the sides, this is more TFL, which we'll talk about on our deadlift day. Turn a little bit more this way towards the ground and move just side to side. And when you find that tight spot, I want you to hold it there and breathe. You can get these foam rollers on Amazon. You can use something like, you can use I wouldn't say using a rolling pin. I'm sure your grandma has one over the holidays. Those are really hard. You can use a PVC pipe. It's really hard. Maybe wrap it in a towel. If that's really painful, you can start here so you're not putting all your body weight on it. You're just focusing on getting this quadricep to loosen up. And as soon as you do that, about 3 minutes on each side, then I want you to start your glute activation. And so again, when you hear about squats making your butt big, it's just false. You have to activate your glutes in order to feel them during a squat. And so I focus on, we sell these if you're interested. These are just slingshot type bands right around your knees. Lay back. Think about pushing your toes up and driving your hips up. Squeeze your glutes at the top and do that for 10 to 15 reps. Make it a little bit harder by sticking one leg up, driving through that heel, holding at the top, and then you can squat. So our squat, we'll start with the air squat. First, I think the biggest takeaway is understanding that you just want your hips to go back. And so when I see people squat incorrectly, what I look at is their knees. Where are their knees going? And it's very easy when someone says to squat, the first range of motion is pushing knees forward. So just with me now, put your feet right outside your hips. Think about your hips going back instead of your hips just dropping down. Hips are going back like you're sitting in a chair, and from there, I'm gonna go a little bit lower. And so what I'm working on as I get lower, instead of knees just staying forward, knees are going slightly out, and then stand. Hips stay right under, just like you're doing sitting on a chair. So come over here, Blake. If that's a foreign concept for you, find a box or a chair. Hips go back, sit down all the way, and then from there, stand up. And I tell a lot of my teenagers when I'm teaching them how to squat is to block the sun. So blocking the sun will keep that chest up nice and high. So the last piece I want to talk about, especially as we work on lifting weights, is what the upper part of our body is doing. So if our hips are going back, but we slunch, then we're putting our back in a terrible position, and we would never want to load that. So hips are going back, chest is up. If you want to put your hands here, you can. Here you can. Just keeping that torso nice and high. See how it doesn't change much? So there's not this going on. And if that's going on, our hip flexors are just too tight, and we got to keep rolling. Or we can go a little wider with our squat stance. As soon as we have the first part done, so air squats feel okay, there's a few ways you can use weights. Dumbbells, chest is up. They actually keep your chest up a little bit better when you hold weight. You can also hold goblet squat. Here, chest is up and stand. And then my favorite, my barbell to go when I don't have access to a gym, the MPEC, stomach tight, hips up. This is the front squat, so way more core engagement. And then the back squat, so a little bit more glute engagement. And then we can talk about barbell. You ready?
All right.
All right, let's get this mic on. So this is Wade. What's your intro, Wade?
I mean, if you don't know who I am.
So Wade is a coach here at Platform Strength. He's gonna be demoing with me how to get into the barbell and how to start using the barbell. We're gonna start with a box because I think this is the safest, most accessible way for people to say, I wanna try to squat with a barbell. So when you're gonna walk into the bar, put your head under, and then I want you to think of your distance of your arms right outside your shoulders, so usually right where those rings are on the bar, and grip nice and tight and step back. So with the box, we're finding a height that feels challenging, so go ahead and take a big sit down. He's gonna stop all the way at the box and then explode up. So it's not just a tap and go. Go ahead and do 5 reps for me. Touch and stand. Notice that he stays tight, so his back position doesn't change. He doesn't get lazy, but he also still completely rests. So with that core engagement, he's able to focus on driving up, and what we want to focus on is hamstrings and glutes. And it's so easy, go ahead and rack it. It's so easy when we do not have a box to only be focusing on quads. And so if you do not feel your glutes or your hamstrings, or you feel like your quads are always sore, but these aren't, that's when we start to see issues with knees. And so when would you say, let's move the box and have people try it without the box?
I mean, once they feel super comfortable and you feel like you're engaging that posterior chain, you can get rid of the box. Like you said, keeping that trunk tight is super important. So that breath in, we fill up, we hold, we come up, then we release that breath and take another breath.
Yeah, great point. Do not breathe in the middle of the lift. Breathe at the top, hold your breath down and up. When you think of if I took a breath here, I would change my spine, and that's what we don't want to do when we add weight. Another big thing to focus on, so go ahead and do a couple reps without the box. And thinking about how low do we go, right? So when we're doing squats, you're gonna see lots of different angles. Right now, what Wade is doing as he squats, his hips are actually below his knees. So he is doing a below parallel squat. And you'll hear a lot of times that you have to get below parallel in order to make that happen. But are you able to show me a below parallel bad squat that we don't want to see? No, that was actually not that bad. It might be kind of hard. Go ahead and rack it for me. So what we're looking for is how low can, and this is why the box is so helpful, how low can you go without changing your spine? So many times what I'll see is somebody squat, but then to get depth, they will tuck in order to compensate because they don't have the range of motion, and then they'll change it as they stand up. But if you're loading your spine at that level, it will always cause problems and lower back issues. So that's why that box is so helpful. What are some other cues for squats that you want to make sure I don't miss?
Especially like, I guess, when you're sitting down on a box to make sure that you really engage that posterior chain and pull back. But grip
Posterior
with your
chain is butt and hamstrings.
Yeah, and then I had a good cue given to me by another one of our coaches the other day, telling me to grip with my feet, because people always say drive through your heels, which is important, but it's also still important to grip with your toes as well.
I forgot to use my big toe when I was training, because in CrossFit it was always heels, 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 heels. So I'd be at the bottom of the squat, and you might have heard me even say this, wiggle your toes, wiggle your toes. You're losing so much power when we take those big toes off, and that's something I've been working on as well. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about incorporating this. We incorporate squats at least 2 times a week. I think heavy squats are obviously the most powerful for changing your body because it engages core, abs, hips, glutes, hamstrings, quads, makes you feel like a badass. But what would be some recommendations for somebody that's just starting squatting? How do they work on adding more weight? What weight do they go for, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about depth, I would start right at like parallel or even slightly above till you feel comfortable there and you feel like everything's getting sore. Like after you get done with a squat, it's not like just my quad should be sore. You know, my whole lower body should feel it or feel a little bit more fatigued. And then working on really developing that trunk at the same time, because your body can only handle a load that your trunk can handle, right?
And trunk meaning core.
Core, yes.
Which we have a full video on in this program. What? So I guess my question was more about programming it.
Oh, yeah,
so
sorry.
if you're brand new to programming it, I want you to just get comfortable with sitting on a box at 90 degrees, doing sets of 10s to 12s. But ideally, we're working our way down in weight or down in reps with heavier weight, because you truly start to see benefits in your body when you're doing sets of 3s to 5s. And so those are heavy lifts, because if we are thinking of a set of 5, it has to be fairly decent as far as load, but that's why we have lots of modifications. Dumbbells, kettlebells, M-Pack, barbell, making sure you train squats at least 2 times a week in whatever form that is, whether that's a set of 10, whether that's a set of 5, and we have in the email below a way for you to incorporate it in today, so we would love to see you guys squat. If you have any questions, comment, and we will make sure that we answer them. And happy day 1 of this fun Get Strong 101 challenge.